Hello everyone, I'm Hash Brown and welcome back to the final episode of the Shadowbringers Dungeon Lore series. In this series I hope to explain the lore of each dungeon in Final Fantasy XIV, as well as to be informative about what are hopefully some niche things about them. Today's dungeon is Paglth'an. As our journeys through the first have progressed, as well as our return to the source and the search for the cure to tempering, the turmoil within Garlean seems to have been coming to a head, with the appearance of another Ascian known as Fandaniel, one aware of Elidipus' disappearance, who puts his plans into action while serving Xenosia Galvus, who himself seems to have taken the throne of the Empire by force, and otherwise appears bored and waiting for a chance to confront the Warrior of Light once more. After successfully developing a cure for the Tempered, the Warrior of Light and the Ascians return to Limsa the Minster to speak to Merwib about the discovery. As the city-state has recently been trying to foster relations with the various beastmen of the Noskia, it comes as a great boon for the possibility of freeing many of their kind from the Primal's grasp. After investigating the state of the pirate crew known as the Bloody Executioners, the Merwib confronts the second-in-command Sicard aboard their ship, resulting in a duel between the two. After knocking Sicard to the ground, the captain of the Executioners, Hilfer, returns and scolds the boy for his attitude towards the beastmen, having been hoarding crystals through taking them from various beast tribes. With the Executioners in hand, we head to the Ugamora area of Outer Lenoskia to meet with an important kobold priest, in the hopes that with the crystals in hand being returned, they will try and call forth Titan, allowing the group a chance to bind and free the kobolds from Titan's influence. The plan works as intended, and by buying time for Amal'jaa to imbue Angelo with ether, we fend off the kobolds until releasing the Patriarch Zardar from tempering, taking more effort due to the extensive nature of his condition. With great conviction, Merwib offers a peace deal with the kobolds, even offering her life in exchange to prove the intentions of her people, but the kobold refuses to shoot, choosing to trust Gabu's judgment and agreeing to peace. After regrouping in Camp Overlook, we plan to head back to the Rising Stones, but a Maelstrom soldier hurriedly approaches and asks us to follow him to look at something peculiar at the floating city of Nim. Near the rubble of the city, pulsating an odd light and standing tall and dark, a great tower of Garlean make rises from the ground, with the soldier saying it appeared just a moment before informing us. Merwib receives a call from an apparent Gridanian informant, and we learn that many of these towers have appeared all across Eorzea, causing general panic. At her request, we head over to Alamigo to assist Lise, but as soon as we meet her, a scream rings out and we see Fandaniel flying overhead, unmistakably along with a dragon very similar to that of Bahamut himself. The group rushes to the royal menagerie where the creature awaits, and Fandaniel introduces himself to the Warrior of Light. He explains his aims when prompted, revealing that he wants to use the towers to prompt the final days across the star, causing untold destruction and death, even wanting to die himself. Unlike the Ascians before, however, Fandaniel seems to only want this goal, stating that he follows no creed or reason. And declaring their name as the Telophoroi, the so-called Lunar Bahamut unleashes a blast of fire upon the garden, blasting the group away. Fandaniel delivers a message from Xenos, wishing to relive the glorious moment of combat with us, and turns to leave with Lunar Bahamut. Regrouping in the Rising Stones, we learn that the Amal'jaa suffered losses due to a number of them being kidnapped while negotiations with the Immortal Flames continued, causing a halt in the progress due to their suspicions. With a dragon appearing, Tataru and Kryle head out to find Astinian for an expert opinion, while we await more news of the towers. Soon after, we attend another meeting at Alamigo, with Raban suggesting a closer investigation into the towers by those resistant to tempering, revealing Arenvold and Fordola as a scouting party. Outside, we speak to Arenvold and learn that the pair are headed to the tower in Paglth'an, the sacred golden fields in Amal'jaa homeland, presumably where many of the Amal'jaa may have gone missing. After this, we meet with Astinian and Ishgard, and after an awkward introduction we decide to return to Azizlar and Astinian's suggestion of visiting Tiamat, consort to Bahamut, for her advice and aid. Informing her of recent events, we learn that if Lunar Bahamut had been summoned in a similar way to the real Bahamut, then the dragons of Mericidia must have been the ones to call him forth, although this would mean that the dragons are at Fandaniel's mercy, and forced to do his bidding. Tiamat wishes to put Bahamut's memory to rest, as well as to free her children from their enthrallment, and agrees to repay her debt to Hydaelyn from ages past. Using Angelo and an Allagan node to help release Tiamat from her bonds, we assist Amal'jaa as Tiamat recalls her past on the southern continent, how men arrived in droves during the Second Astral Era, and how although they knew peace initially, began to fight and squabble over land, taking up more and more while the dragons kept their distance. Eventually, some of the men would approach Bahamut, pleading with him to help bring peace to the land, and under his governance, there was peace again across the continent. Finally, Tiamat becomes freed from her bonds, swearing vengeance and atonement for her beloved. G'raha receives a call from Urianger, learning that Lunar Bahamut has been sighted at Paglth'an, an Ascian rise on Tiamat's back to the Great Plains. The rest of the group reconvene at the Immortal Flames HQ, learning that Paglth'an is already under attack by the Telophoroi, and the Grand Company has sent a contingent of troops to Paglth'an to assist the Amal'jaa. Nanamo expounds upon this, and we learn that the Eorzean Alliance have all sent assistance to the battlefield, hoping to combat Lunar Bahamut's horde of dragons. She remains doubtful of the success of the operation, however, and requests the Scion's assistance as well. The group of course agrees to assist however they can, and we head to the airship landing, prepared for combat and ready to take to the golden fields of the nomadic Amal'jaa. We arrive in the Amal'jaa seat of power known as Zolmak to find the battle already raging, with the native Amal'jaa fighting off the tempered Garleans. In the same vein, the enemies we face during our charge also consist of a majority of the tempered troops, as well as those dragons forcibly called to Lunar Bahamut's side, fittingly named after the Telophoroi. Through the first tunnel, we find a Telophoroi, with a lesser Teledragon approaching and assaulting two more Amal'jaa from the other side of some nearby debris. Acting fast enough to destroy it allows the Amal'jaa to flee and live, but should the group be too slow, the Teledragon claims their lives and breaks through the debris itself. In the next opening we see a handful of kobolds ready to assist us with our progress, and after tackling the wave of foes from a nearby passage, we proceed to see more kobold allies swarmed by the Telophoroi, with one attempting to fight and falling in the process. After fending them off, the remaining kobolds use their blasting device to break open the nearby rock and allow us through to the Gathering Ring, finding a curl-like creature known as Amal'jaa. This creature is another named after a mythological creature from real life, a horned dragon that is associated with drowning and sickness. They say that wherever the Amal'jaa steps, the ground softens and sinks, and that its most common trait is trapping those that surround the lake where it lives, having them slowly sink and drown beneath the muddy waters. In our case, the creature differs greatly, using thunderous powers to strike the group and the ring as a whole. Like most curls, the Amal'jaa uses its claws to rip at the tanking party member, and soon begins channeling lightning-based ether, making the group more conductive. Thankfully, however, thanks to the metallic lamps surrounding the ring, the lightning can be coaxed to attract to these poles by standing nearby, safely redirecting the blast away from us. The creature follows up by summoning forth several lightning orbs, repeatedly blasting around them, while using the expected blaster attack seen from many curls. When injured, it combines the two lightning attacks, with both the orbs and the conductive ether appearing, forcing the group to avoid the blast from the orbs before redirecting their own attack. After tackling the Amal'jaa, we head into the main citadel at Zolmak, with many burning buildings as the fight rages on. We manage to catch up with Ascian and Tiamat, both defeating a set of soldiers before splitting up to catch the Amal'jaa. We too continue on and see an Amal'jaa war machine explode nearby, leaving its occupants unmoving on the floor. Emmerich and Lucia are in the fray further ahead, and after assisting them, they help the wounded nearby and ask us to press on. A fleeing Amal'jaa is rescued by Ascian, and the Garlean machines are decimated by a fire blast from Tiamat. Just before the scale can pen, we see two more Amal'jaa fall to the tempered dragons, and Tiamat returns to make good on her promise by helping us put them out of their misery. In the clearing, an enormous Magitech fortress blocks our path, armed to the teeth with explosives and lasers alike. A platoon of troops stands before it too, mindlessly attacking as we approach. The fortress seems to be intended as a tactical piece of equipment, to be used as a device to guard the rear of the main force of a Garlean assault. But due to the force in question not being in their right mind, the structure was brought to the front line in their continued assault. The Magitech fortress responds as we engage, unleashing waves of troops from its side entrances as we fight through the previous. The Magitech cannons begin charging as we fight, unleashing a blast of light catching anyone in its way. On either side of the pen, two Paglth'an flamekeepers assist us with fire magics towards the core atop the fortress. As we fend off the troops, they manage to unleash a fiery blast of magic, disabling the core shield and allowing us to jump up to destroy it. After it takes sufficient damage, it initiates a defense maneuver and pushes us out, returning us to the pen to fight more troops. This time, however, it adds in a barrage of slow-moving missiles, shooting across the ring from either side. After avoiding them, the Amal'jaa manages a second fire blast, and the group can jump up to destroy the core, blasting the fortress to bits and leaving a gaping hole to head through to the far side. Progressing around the corner and tackling another set of troops, we see the open fields of Paglth'an ablaze with combat. Tiamat returns and warns us of Lunar Bahamut's presence, calling several wyverns to carry us over to a small encampment much closer to the tower. With Tiamat at our side, we fight through the last waves of Magitech troops and tempered dragons, with Lunar Bahamut finally making an appearance, attempting to blast the group away with fire. After defeating them, we reach the Sun Seat, where the peculiar primal deigns to face us in combat at last. With a roar, the primal reappears, roaring in the sky above the plains. And Ascian and Tiamat combined launch an attack, the Dragoon diving from on high while Tiamat unleashes deadly flames. After they clash, Tiamat retreats while Lunar Bahamut takes a hit and is forced to the ground, where the group is ready to face him. As we engage the primal, the ether in the air manifests into rows of lunar nails, exploding after a time. It follows up with Perigean breath, blasting in front of itself, and the name of this attack refers to a tide that occasionally occurs in real life when the moon is nearest to the Earth, appropriate for the so-called Lunar Bahamut. As expected from a dragon, it soon unleashes a deadly Archmorn upon the group, striking over and over with blasts of light. When injured, the primal summons forth more nails and flies away, dashing across the room while burning any in his path. After managing to avoid more scathing lunar flames and expanding blasts, we manage to fell it, removing the immediate threat, but leaving us wondering as to the location of the Ascian it served. Within the clearing, Tiamat thanks us for helping put the memory of her beloved to rest, taking flight to earn new freedom. The Amal'jaa warchief approaches, swearing on their honour to befriend the peoples of Ul'dah the joint sacrifice made against the Telophoroi, and vows to spread the word to their kin of the new alliance. As we leave Paglth'an, however, we see a view of the inside of the tower, with Arenvold and Fordola continuing their investigation. As Arenvold attempts to pull the Amal'jaa trapped within free of their prison, however, an alarm rings out, and causes the Amal'jaa to shriek in pain and glow brightly. Revealing the true nature of the towers, the centre of the room reacts and begins to burn bright, and from above drops yet another primal, clearly the form of a lunar Ifrit. As it swipes at a staggered Fordola, Arenvold yells and steps in to take the blow. And that concludes our journey to the homeland plains of the Amal'jaa, with at least the threat of the Lunar Bahamut vanquished. From what we saw within the tower, we can deduce that Lunar Bahamut, similar to the lunar Ifrit conjured, was created by another tower somewhere across the land. And as the Amal'jaa were trapped in the tower that called Ifrit, so can we assume that the tower to summon Bahamut was one containing many Miracidian dragons, forced to call upon their hope of their own god saving them, resulting in the corrupted form of the primal we felt. With Fandaniel's plan still in motion, albeit set back with our clash in Paglth'an, we can only await the days to come, hoping that the Ascian does not make them as final as he intends. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Endwalker for the Tower of Zot.